Once a month, an elite group of philosophers meets at a small tavern in Greenwich Village.
Greetings, New York!
They call themselves the New York Consciousness Collective.
I act like you act! I do what you do!
At the helm of this jam session is David Chalmers. He may never fill Madison Square Garden, but his research is earning him a growing fan base in academia. He's trying to understand the nature and limits of consciousness.
What consciousness is? I ain't got a clue!
Consciousness is pretty well the biggest mystery in the world, and for these reasons, because it's such a hard problem, scientists have tended just to set it aside. Science is objective, consciousness is subjective. It's just in the last couple of decades, really, that scientists have started coming back to consciousness as a problem in its own right.
David believes a way to understand consciousness is to think of it in layers. Layers constructed from the data our senses are gathering.
So consciousness has all these different levels. First of all, there's primary consciousness. This is consciousness of the things around you. I look out, I might see someone and see what's around them. That's my first level of consciousness. But then, if I stop and reflect, I can be conscious of my consciousness. I can become conscious of what I'm thinking about. Then we've got consciousness within consciousness. If I reflect again, I can start to be conscious of the fact that I'm conscious of my consciousness. Then you get consciousness that contains consciousness that contains consciousness. Go 3 levels deep. In principle, you could repeat this to infinity.
Since our brain is dealing with so many layers, it stands to reason that we might not always be aware of everything we're sensing.
So some things are in the background of your consciousness, way out in the distance. Some things are flickering through your consciousness. They grab your attention for a moment, and then they move on. Some things are in the focus of your consciousness. They grab your attention. They don't let go.
But how do we discover what we are missing? Why does only certain neural activity manage to fight its way into our awareness? What's actually happening in our brains when we are conscious of something is still a complete mystery.
One of the basic questions about consciousness is whether you can explain it in terms of physical processes, because we've got used to the idea in science that you start with a few basics in physics, like space and time and matter. Put them together, you can explain everything else. You explain chemistry, you explain biology. Now, I think in the case of consciousness, this great chain of explanation breaks down. My view is we've got a new fundamental building block in nature, consciousness, and we need to understand the fundamental laws that govern it.